Narrated Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Last night a big demon from the jinns came to me and wanted to interrupt my prayer, or said something similar. But Allah enabled me to overpower him. I wanted to fasten him to one of the pillars of the mosque so that all of you could see him in the morning. But I remembered the statement of my brother Solomon, as stated in Quran, 'My Lord, forgive me and bestow on me a kingdom such as shall not belong to anybody after me.' The sub-narrator Ruh said, he, the demon, was dismissed, humiliated. Narrated Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent some horsemen to Najd, and they brought a man called Thumama bin Uthal from Bani Hanifa. They fastened him to one of the pillars of the mosque. The Prophet ﷺ came and ordered them to release him. He went to a garden of date palms near the mosque, took a bath, and entered the mosque again and said, "None has a right to be worshipped but Allah, and Muhammad ﷺ, his apostle." He embraced Islam. Narrated Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, on the day of Khandaq, Battle of the Trench, the medial arm vein of Sa'd bin Masoud radiallahu ta'ala anhu was injured, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam pitched a tent in the mosque to look after him. There was another tent of Banu Ghaffar in the mosque, and the blood started flowing from Sa'd's tent to the tent of Banu Ghaffar. They shouted, "O occupants of the tent, what is coming from you to us?" They found that Sa'd's wound was bleeding profusely, and Sa'd died in his tent. Narrated Salama, I complained to Allah Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam that I was sick. He told me to perform the tawaf behind the people while riding. So I did so, and Allah Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam was praying beside the Kaaba and reciting the surah, started with Wattur wa kitabin mastur. Narrated Anas bin Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu, two of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ departed from him on a dark night and were led by two lights like lamps, going in front of them from Allah as a miracle, lighting the way in front of them. And they departed, each of them was accompanied by one of these lights till he reached their respective houses. Narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khidri radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam delivered a sermon and said, Allah gave a choice to one of his slaves either to choose this world or what is with him in the hereafter. He chose the latter. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu wept. I said to myself, why is this sheikh weeping? If Allah gave him choice to one of his slaves, either to choose this world or what is with him in the hereafter, and he chooses the latter. And the slave was Allah Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. Abu Bakr knew more than us. The Prophet ﷺ said, "O Abu Bakr, don't weep." The Prophet ﷺ added, "Abu Bakr has favored me much with his property and company. If I were to take a Halil from the mankind, I would certainly have taken Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, but the Islamic brotherhood and the friendship is sufficient." closed all the gates in the mosque except of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Narrated Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Allah Apostle sallallahu alayhi wasallam in his feral illness came out with a piece of cloth tied around his head and sat on the pulpit. After thanking and praising Allah, he sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "There is no one who had done more favor to me with life and property than Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu. If I were to take a Halil, I would certainly have taken Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu, but the Islamic Brotherhood is superior. Close all the small doors in the mosque except that of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu." Narrated Nafi, Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam arrived at Mecca and sent for Uthman bin Talha. He opened the gate of Kaaba and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Bilal, Uthman, Zaid and Usama bin Talha entered the Kaaba and then they closed its door from inside. They stayed there for an hour and then came out. Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu added, I quickly went to Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu and asked him whether the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam had prayed. Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu replied, he prayed in it. I asked where. He replied, between the two pillars. Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu added, I forgot to ask how many rakahs he, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, had prayed in the Kaaba. Narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Allah Apostle sallallahu alayhi wasallam sent some horsemen to Najd and they brought a man called Thumama bin Uthal from Bani Hanifa. They fastened him to one of the pillars of the mosque. Narrated Asad bin Yazid radiallahu ta'ala anhu, I was standing in the mosque and somebody threw a gravel at me. I looked and found that he was Umar bin Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He said to me, fetch those two men to me. When I did, he said to them, who are you? Or where do you come from? They replied, we are from Taif. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, where are you from? The city Medina. I would have punished you for raising your voices in the mosque of Allah Apostle sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Narrated Ka'b bin Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu, during the lifetime of Allah Apostle sallallahu alayhi wasallam, I asked Ibn Hadrat in Damascus to pay my debts, which he owed to me. And our voices grew so loud that Allah Apostle sallallahu alayhi wasallam heard them while he was in his house. So he came to us after raising the curtain of his room. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, O Ka'b bin Malik. I replied, Labbaik, O Allah Apostle sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He gestured with his hand to me to reduce the debt to 1/2. I said, O Allah Apostle sallallahu alayhi wasallam, have done it. Allah Apostle sallallahu alayhi wasallam said to Ibn Hadrat, get up and pay it. Narrated Nafi, Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu said, while the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam was on the pulpit, a man asked him how to offer the night prayer. He sallallahu alayhi wasallam replied, pray 2 rakat at a time and then 2 and then 2 and so on. And if you are afraid of the dawn, the approach of the time of the Fajr prayer, pray 1 rakat and then will be the witr of all the rakat which you have offered. Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu said that last rakat of the night prayer should be odd, for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered it to be so. Narrated Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, a man came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam while he was delivering the sermon and asked him how to offer the night prayers. The Prophet ﷺ replied, "Pray 2 rakat at a time, and then two, and then two, and so on. And if you are afraid of dawn, the approach of the time of the Fajr prayer, pray 1 rakat, and that will be the width of all the rakat at which you have prayed." Narrated Ubaidullah bin Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, a man called the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam while he was in the mosque. Narrated Abu Waqid al-Laythi radiallahu ta'ala anhu, while Allah Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting in the mosque with some people, 3 men came. 2 of them came in front of Allah Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the third one went away. And then one of them found a place in the circle and sat there, while the second man sat behind the gathering, and the third one went away. When Allah Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam finished his preaching, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Shall I tell you about these 3 persons? One of them betook himself to Allah, and so Allah accepted him and accommodated him. The second felt shy before Allah, so Allah did the same for him and sheltered him in His mercy and did not punish him. While the third turned his face from Allah and went away, so Allah turned his face from him likewise." Narrated Abbad bin Tamim radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that his uncle said, "I saw Allah Apostle sallallahu alaihi wasallam laying flat on his back in the mosque with one leg on the other." Narrated Sa'ib bin al-Musayyib that Umar and Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu used to do the same.